They were able to do things with their minds that we can't even imagine. The civilization of Atlantis existed for thousands of years, and it was the entire world. It was not just an island out there. There was huge, beautiful cities, and then there were also natives and jungles. So they had it just like they have today. But the ones in the cities had learned how to use their minds to such a degree that they could do anything with it. They could mold stone and move stone. This is where the pyramids and everything were developed later, were by the survivors of Atlantis who still carried the knowledge of how this was done. They could move things. They could create things with their minds. They didn't have any more disease. They didn't grow old because they had complete control of their bodies. But they began to use the mind in the wrong way. They did a lot with crystals. They had a lot of colors they used. I've had many things, and this is a whole section in Convoluted Book 1 about what they were able to do. They had tremendous powers of these things with the minds. But after thousands of years, they began to do things they weren't supposed to. Can you imagine if you had the power to do anything with your mind? You'd get bored after a while, wouldn't you? Being human. And then you say, well, let's try this or try that, even though it wasn't really correct. And so they began to have some things that were corrupting the use of the mind. And they began doing things that were not right. One of the things that they began to do, which I was told was against the laws of nature, they began interbreeding animals and humans. And at first they were doing it to have them for servants, and it was for fun, and just to see if they could do it or not. Majority of times the mutants, the things that they created, couldn't reproduce, but they were just trying different experiments. The legends that have come down to us from ancient Greece and ancient Rome about the half-man, half-animals, centaurs, minotaurs, the harpies, all of those legends originated in Atlantis. And I always believed a legend had to have a beginning somewhere. They come from the abilities they had in Atlantis to interbreed the animals. And it's come down to us in the form of legends from Greece and these different places. But it actually was done at that time. Then it began to abuse it. And they began to abuse the power of nature. And they said that was when they had to be stopped. They were doing things that were against nature. They were also trying to use the powers of the crystals to do negative things. They were creating too much power and directing them down into the center of the earth. And they were doing all kinds of things just to see if they could do it. And they were using the crystal powers in a negative way. This is why Atlantis had to go down, because they were doing things they were not supposed to. So it came to the point it had to be destroyed.